It never ends. It never ends. Blake Lively just detonated her own defense. Justin Baldoni caught in the crossfire. Rebel Wilson dragged into the storm lawyer's witnesses' secret files. Everyone is turning on everyone. The walls are closing in. The reckoning is here, and Hollywood will never be the same. It never ends. The storm around Blake Lively grows darker every passing hour, and the deeper we go into the tangled web of this case, the more impossible it becomes to separate truth from deception as the world watches Hollywood's golden image collapses under the weight of betrayal, ambition, and secrets buried too long. Blake Lively, once celebrated for her grace, now stands at the center of a legal and personal disaster that threatens not only her career, but her very freedom. What began as whispers of conflict has exploded into a saga of accusations, counter-accusations, and revelations that pull in some of the most powerful names in entertainment. Justin Baldoni, once seen as her creative partner, has transformed into her fiercest adversary. Their battle is not only about a film, it is about power, credibility, and survival. And in this arena, no one walks away unscathed. The case is overflowing with voices, some silenced, some screaming. For attention, a publicist turned crisis fixer, a billionaire co-founder, a producing partner who refuses to stay quiet, agents walking away, yet still tied to the powerful couple, a rising actress trying to carve her own path, Hollywood insiders spilling. What they should not even Taylor Swift, once a best friend, now appears only as a ghostly reminder of loyalties gone sour. The court of public opinion has already rendered judgment, but the real courtroom looms ahead where consequences will not be measured in headlines, but in years behind bars. The drama escalates with every filing, every leak, every whispered confession. One day it is Blake demanding millions from Baldoni, the next. It is a witness stepping from the shadows armed with emails, timelines, and receipts that could burn the entire structure to the ground. And then there is Perez Hilton, the queen of all media, suddenly not just reporting the story, but becoming part of it, pulled into the heart of the legal storm. His words, his files, his testimony argued as critical to Blake's defense. The absurdity and danger of this moment collide until reality itself feels scripted, and the lines between strategy and sabotage vanish. Yet just as the pieces seemed set, a new name emerged. Rebel Wilson dragged into the orbit of this scandal, her own lawsuits, her own battles suddenly intersecting with the lively Baldoni war. At first it looked unrelated, a side drama from another corner of Hollywood, but documents, filings, and shocking discoveries revealed an ugly overlap. And with it, the question, how deep does this go? How many reputations will be destroyed before the truth is finally known? Rebel Wilson, once sued for defamation by her own producers, is now tied to crisis strategist Melissa Nathan, whose name appears again and again in the darkest corners of this story. Melissa, accused of orchestrating smear campaigns, of planting grotesque rumors, of manipulating narratives, now finds her work exposed under discovery. Her words, her texts, her instructions, lighting a fire that spreads uncontrollably across two battles at once. The timing, the connections, the strategy, they are too close to ignore when anonymous sites emerge slandering producers, when whispers of trafficking and financial misconduct appeared in carefully crafted posts, when the careers of respected professionals teetered on the brink of ruin. All trails pointed back to the same names, the same methods, the same shadows pulling strings, and this is where the story sharpens into a knife. Because what started as a business dispute now reeks of coordinated character assassination campaigns run like underground warfare in Hollywood. The question is no longer who said what, the question is who built the machine that spread it, and who profited from the wreckage. One document, a single text message, reveals more than months of speculation. Rebel wants one of those sites. Melissa wrote her tone casual, her words damning a strategy, born not of truth, but of destruction. And only weeks later, those very sites appeared dripping with poison disguised as anonymous outrage, but designed to obliterate reputations. The parallels to the Stephanie Jones case are impossible to ignore. She too was targeted by shadowy campaigns that tore at her name until the court itself demanded answers. Now Amanda Ghost, another producer, stands at the same cliff edge, wondering who unleashed the storm against her. And in both stories, the same fingerprints appear, the same methods, the same whispers from the same circles. Hollywood pretends it is about art, about glamour, about the beauty of creation. But beneath the surface, it is knives in the dark, and those knives are now slicing toward Blake Lively. Whether she held them or whether they were turned against her remains. The question as these revelations burn across social feeds and legal filings. The image of Blake as victim or villain shifts hourly. Is she the target of ruthless enemies orchestrating her downfall, or the architect of her own destruction, sabotaging herself in her hunger for control? Evidence stacks on both sides: emails, messages, depositions, fragments of truth buried under mountains of manipulation. Every player, every witness, every lawyer spins their version while the clock ticks toward a reckoning. Blake demands millions. Justin fights back. Rebel faces lawsuits. Melissa stands accused. The public demands answers, and into this inferno steps Camille Vasquez, the powerhouse attorney, who once dismantled Amber Heard and defended Johnny Depp. Now she too is tied to the orbit of this case, representing those who claim they were victims of smear campaigns. And her words are thunder across the valley of lies she calls these tactics. A cancer, one that must be cut out, exposed, and punished with vengeance. Hollywood cannot ignore her voice, and in this chaos, even allies look like enemies. Brian Friedman, lawyer for Baldoni. Once lawyer for Rebel, now a figure straddling both sides. How can loyalty exist in such a landscape when every alliance is temporary, every truth negotiable, every secret a weapon waiting to be unleashed? It is here in the shadows of this confusion that the true danger emerges, because Hollywood thrives on illusion. But courts do not. And when the lights of the courtroom expose every file, every strategy, every lie, there will be no hiding behind red carpets or glossy covers. The reckoning will not be a headline. It will be a sentence, years carved into lives, careers, shattered families dragged through mud, reputations ruined forever. The storm that began as gossip now grows into a legal apocalypse with stakes higher than any script could dream, and Blake Lively stands at the center, unable to escape, unable to silence the voices that rise against her, unable to control the machine that she may have built, or that may now consume her entirely. The deeper we descend into the chaos surrounding Blake Lively, the more the story transforms from a simple legal dispute into a sprawling saga of betrayal, ambition, and calculated sabotage. Because what we are watching is not just one actress fighting for her reputation, but the unraveling of a Hollywood empire stitched together with secrecy, lies, and power plays. Blake Lively, once the shining emblem of sophistication and charm, is now presented in filings as a woman willing to risk everything. Her reputation, her marriage, even her freedom to preserve control over a narrative slipping from her grasp. She demanded millions from Justin Baldoni. But behind that demand lies something far darker. Whispers of sabotage, claims of manipulation, and now the chilling possibility of prison. The courtroom is not merely a stage for legal arguments. It has become the arena where decades of image building collide with brutal reality. Each player enters the ring with sharpened weapons. Attorneys armed with receipts, insiders armed with whispers, reporters armed with files leaked under the cover of midnight, and Perez Hilton at the center. Not by choice, but by force. His voice, his archive, his knowledge suddenly argued to be the key to Blake's defense. And the danger for Perez is staggering, because in the eyes of the law, holding information is not neutral. It is leverage. It is liability. It is the thin line between observer and participant. And if Blake claims he holds what could save her, that makes him part of the storm. The names swirl around this story like ghosts haunting a battlefield. Rebel Wilson dragged in with her own scandals. Her defamation battles suddenly twisted into the larger war. Melissa Nathan, the crisis expert, accused of building digital smear machines, her words caught in the glare of discovery, revealing a playbook of destruction. Anonymous websites crafted with surgical cruelty narratives designed to annihilate careers under the guise of rumor. This is not accidental, this is industrial-scale sabotage, and Hollywood now stares into the mirror, seeing its reflection smeared with blood. Yet the puzzle pieces refuse to fit neatly every time one truth surfaces. Another contradiction explodes. James Vituska, the former Daily Mail reporter, enters the scene with cryptic declarations, his words drenched in menace. "I hold the evidence," he warns. "I have the receipts, the timelines, the proof. And when the reckoning comes, they will stand empty-handed, while I stand with stacks that speak louder than any excuse." But who are they? Who is he warning, and why does his shadow hover over both sides? Blake claims his voice could defend her. Baldoni suggests his loyalties shift like sand, and the public is left asking, is James a whistleblower or a weapon in disguise? One detail after another surfaces, revealing just how intertwined these players truly are. Brian Friedman, a lawyer whose name echoes across the cases once representing Rebel, once tied to Baldoni. Now floating between battles. How can justice breathe when the same names appear on every side? Camille Vasquez now enters with a thunderclap, her reputation forged in the fires of the Johnny Depp, Amber Heard trial. Her presence alone signals devastation for whoever stands in her way. And she does not mince words, calling the tactics revealed here a cancer. She demands accountability for smear campaigns, for reputations destroyed, for digital warfare that spreads like wildfire. And in her voice, the world hears the echo of inevitability. Someone will burn. The shocking twist is how quickly reputations unravel. Rebel, painted as a faux feminist who weaponized her voice to destroy her business partners, Melissa portrayed as the architect of digital campaigns that smeared opponents with grotesque lies. Baldoni accused of leveraging crisis strategies to crush dissent. Blake depicted as both victim and villain. The line between them blurs until none of them look innocent anymore. And that is the heart of the nightmare in Hollywood. Truth is no longer truth. It is performance, a crafted illusion meant to survive a single news cycle. But courts are not so forgiving. Courts demand evidence. Receipts, emails, timelines, proof, and those very weapons are now being unearthed from encrypted servers, from subpoenaed phones, from whispered testimonies. Each new revelation, another dagger aimed at a career, another stone dragging reputations into the abyss, and then the lawsuits multiply. Rebel sued. Again and again, producers claiming defamation. Contracts broken, distribution sabotaged, a musical ruined. Its director accused of lies, manipulation, and cruelty. And yet every thread of that story leads back into the saga of Blake and Baldoni, as if Hollywood itself is one tangled net where every scandal is connected, every downfall linked to another. The anonymous sites dripping with slander, the posts accusing producers of trafficking, the whispers of financial theft and sexual misconduct. The strategy is always the same. Weaponize rumor, amplify lies, bury opponents under an avalanche of digital poison. And in every story, Melissa's fingerprints appear. And if these allegations hold true, then Hollywood's glittering veneer is nothing more than a mask hiding an army of professional assassins, reputation killers for hire, who operate behind glossy agencies and PR firms. This is not scandal, it is war. And the battlefield stretches from Los Angeles courtrooms to secret servers to the headlines of every global tabloid, where the public devours the carnage with insatiable hunger. And in the center, Blake Lively demands millions from Baldoni. Not just as money, but as validation, as proof she is still in control. But each demand makes her look more desperate, more dangerous, more reckless, and whispers now echo that if she loses, if the wrong evidence surfaces, if the witnesses hold firm, she could face not just humiliation, but years behind bars for manipulation, obstruction, or worse. Hollywood stars rarely imagine prison, but the words now circle her name like vultures circling the weak, and the public cannot look away. They ask, could Blake Lively truly end up jailed? Could this once adored figure become another fallen idol? The questions multiply while the answers dissolve under waves of new filings, new leaks, new betrayals. And the most terrifying thought is that this may only be the beginning, because the storm does not end. It never ends. The walls are closing in tighter now, the filings mount. The accusations stack higher. The whispers grow louder, and Blake Lively finds herself standing in the eye of a storm that will not relent. The court has become her stage, but unlike the scripted perfection of Hollywood sets, there are no retakes here, no polished dialogue, no carefully curated lighting, only raw, unfiltered consequence. And the cameras that once adored her elegance now turn into searchlights, seeking every flaw, every inconsistency, every shadow from her past. And while she seeks millions from Justin Baldoni, the demand is not seen as justice, but as desperation. An attempt to grab control of a story spiraling away from her, and in the eyes of the public, desperation is poison. It erodes sympathy. It fuels suspicion. And suspicion is the most dangerous currency in a courtroom, because it lingers in the minds of jurors, in the voices of headlines, in the feeds of millions of watchers who do not need verdicts to make judgments. The revelation of a mystery witness shatters what little stability remained. Someone hidden, someone shielded behind redactions, steps forward, their words like daggers hurled into the chaos. I experienced abuse. I demanded Baldoni be removed from production, they whisper. But who are they who hides behind this sealed testimony? And why now? The internet erupts with speculation. Some point to family names, others to co-hosts, colleagues, allies turned enemies, every guess. Another spark in the firestorm. And yet the truth remains locked inside blacked-out lines, waiting for a judge to decide if the mask will be torn away. The suspense grows unbearable because in this game, identities are power and secrets are weapons. And the more they are hidden, the more explosive their reveal becomes. Baldoni denied his chance to amend his counterclaims watches, as Lively maneuvers through legal technicalities, transforming his loss into her weapon. The law allows her to seek damages, fees, treble punishments. But beneath the legal jargon, the narrative that emerges is clear. She wants his fortune, she wants his reputation, she wants his ruin. And for those watching, the question sharpens into a blade. Is this justice or is this greed? The numbers are staggering. Whispers of six-figure fees, whispers of millions in damages, whispers that the money flowing through these cases each day could fund entire films. Yet here it is, spent on destruction rather than creation, and Hollywood peers in horror at its own. Reflection. Realizing that the industry has become a cannibal devouring itself. The arrival of declarations adds gasoline to the fire. Claims of negative interactions. Claims of verbal abuse. Claims of exclusion from sets yet stripped of context. They dangle like broken fragments of truth. The audience craves clarity. But all they receive are riddles, and riddles breed speculation. Speculation breeds frenzy. And frenzy is the currency of modern scandal. The public does not need proof. They need drama, and drama is what they are fed in abundance. Lawyers argue that these redacted testimonies are little more than PR maneuvers. Filings designed to poison perception, rather than persuade a judge. They call it piling on. Yet piling on in Hollywood is often more devastating than any verdict. Because once the tide of public opinion shifts, careers drown and no legal victory can resuscitate them behind closed doors. Strategy meetings unfold like war councils who will testify, who will be silenced, who will be sacrificed for the larger battle, and somewhere in those rooms, voices argue over whether to keep secrets sealed or to unleash them like bombs into the public sphere. Every decision, another twist of the knife. Blake, Lively, once untouchable, now finds her every move dissected. Why demand millions? Why risk more exposure? Why attach her name to declarations dripping with shadowy accusations? Some say it is courage. Others call it recklessness. Others whisper. It is sabotage, self-inflicted, an implosion born not of enemies but of her own miscalculations. The specter of prison now hovers close, not merely as a possibility, but as a narrative repeated so often it begins to feel inevitable. And though lawyers caution that procedural wins do not guarantee ultimate victory, the public hears only one phrase. Blake Lively risks 5 years behind bars, and the echo of that phrase grows louder with every headline, every video, every whisper on social media where perception transforms into reality and reality into destiny. Yet the most chilling detail is how interconnected every strand of this web has become. Rebel Wilson tied through her lawsuits, Melissa Nathan exposed as a crisis strategist accused of weaponizing rumor, Brian Friedman. Straddling the line between defender and accuser, Camille Vasquez emerging with her relentless pursuit of accountability. Each name another player in the endless game, each revelation, another reminder that Hollywood is not a city of stars, but a battlefield littered with broken reputations and ruined lives. And through it all, the mystery of the redacted witness lingers like a ghost. Who are they? What did they see? What do they know? And when the seal is broken, will their words destroy Baldoni, save Lively, or shatter them both? The suspense suffocates like smoke filling a theater before the flames burst. The audience cannot leave. They are trapped, compelled, addicted, waiting for the curtain to rise on the next act. And the truth is, perhaps, there will be no winners. Only survivors scarred forever by a war that consumed them. The deeper this case drags, the clearer it becomes that this is not simply about justice. It is about annihilation, total reputational destruction. No compromise. No settlement, only ashes. And for Hollywood, this trial has become a mirror, a reflection of the darkness that festers beneath the glamour. Because what happens when the brightest stars are exposed, not as idols, but as combatants in a war where truth is just another weapon? The stage is set. The filings are made, the whispers refuse to die, and what remains now is a single terrifying truth. Blake Lively has crossed a threshold from which there is no return. Her demands for millions, her desperate, Fights over documents, her resistance against witnesses, and her attempts to control the narrative have turned the spotlight into a torch. Burning brighter with every passing day, the redacted testimony looms like a sword above her, the mystery witness, ready to strike at the very heart of her case. Justin Baldoni waits, his silence sharpened into a weapon by the chaos around him, and the court itself becomes the only arena where truth and fiction will collide. But truth in Hollywood is slippery, and fiction is often more powerful. Perception has already painted Lively as reckless, greedy, desperate, and perhaps guilty. And when those perceptions harden into belief, no jury, no judge, no verdict can undo the damage. The possibility of prison, the risk of 5 years, the ruin of her career, the destruction of her legacy, all hang in the balance she has fought for control. Yet in that struggle, she may have lost everything the audience watches frozen, knowing that the next revelation could either vindicate her or bury her forever. And that is the chilling suspense of this moment. The trial of Blake Lively is no longer just a legal battle. It is a spectacle, a war, a tragedy unfolding in real time. And whatever the verdict may be, the scars it leaves will haunt Hollywood long after the curtain falls.